Yo, what is poppin' people? It's your boy Jet, and today we're going to be reviewing My Hero Academia Chapter 270. If you guys like the video and you want to see more, make sure you guys go ahead and United States to smash that subscribe button, turn on the bell so you never miss another upload. Detroit, smash that like button, comment and share. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the review. So people, we kick off the chapter right where we left off in the last one. We got President Mike carrying Dr. Ujiko out of the hospital basement. Express is attending to a passed out Shigaraki. President Mike is taking Dr. Ujiko to the front of the lab just because Dr. Ujiko has the command to control all the Nomu. So he's going to get Dr. Ujiko to stop all the Nomu from terrorizing Endeavor, Aizawa, and the rest of the crust. I don't know who else is up there. As President Mike is taking Dr. Ujiko up to the front of the lab, he starts talking. He starts saying stuff about from 70 years ago, about the quirk singularity theory, about how absurd it was, and then how right it is now. So basically, we learned that Dr. Ujiko is the man that came up with the idea of the quirk singularity, about quirks getting so strong in the future that people won't even be able to control them. President Mike reacts to it by saying, you know, there's a whole cult that believes in the theory now. Like, it's kind of crazy. You came up with this theory, and now there's a whole cult that believes in it. President Mike says that once the scholar came with this theory about the quirk singularity, he went missing and then ended up dying. But if he was alive today, he'd be 120 years old. And it's basically just saying, like, yeah, Dr. Ujiko is that man that came up with the quirk singularity theory all long ago, which explains why when Dr. Ujiko got found out, he turned so old. Because, you know, he's 120 years old. But how is he 120 years old? Most people don't even live past 70, so how is he alive still? And we get the answer right on the next page. Dr. Ujiko is saying that he was exiled for his theory, but the only person to save him during his exilation, I don't know how to say it, was Mr. All for One. All for One saved Dr. Ujiko from being exiled, about like saying, oh, we're all gonna get too strong for our quirks are gonna get too strong for our body, and everyone's like, no, you're crazy. And they exiled him from society, and the only one that rescued him, the only one that was there for him, was All for One. Then Dr. Ujiko drops a bombshell. He says, my quirk, it gives me the vitality of others at the cost of my athleticism. It's preservation, which means that his quirk is basically a regeneration quirk. It's basically just a regeneration quirk. It allows him to regenerate. It gives him more vitality. He has a regeneration quirk. Dr. Ujiko has a regeneration quirk. But we get another bombshell dropped off right there. Dr. Ujiko then says the quirk within my body right now is just a duplicate of the original. So not only does Dr. Ujiko reveal that he was the man that came up with the quirk singularity theory, but he is also the man who has the regeneration quirk, and he also reveals that he doesn't even have the original quirk. He has a duplicate of his regeneration quirk, or preservation quirk, however you want to say. I'm just going to call it the regeneration quirk. All of this finally ties up. He is the man from all those years ago that came with that theory, and that is why he is still alive today, because he has a regeneration quirk. Or maybe it's defective, because he does turn old once Endeavor pulls up on him with the smoke. After we get all this big reveal, Dr. Ujiko starts talking to President Mike. He says, you're Kurogiri's friend, right? The truth is, back then, I had actually wanted preservation. And then we cut to just some crazy art by Horikoshi as we see Shigaraki standing in just what looks like a dreamscape of a city disintegrating, hands everywhere. This art right here, this spread, it's just dope. It's dope. I can't wait to see someone actually color this, but this whole dreamscape just looks dope. And this is basically where the chapter takes on from here. So we have Shigaraki in this dreamscape, and in this dreamscape he sees his little sister Hana. She says, don't worry, I'm on your side, Tenko. Shigaraki addresses her and says, Hana, he addresses her, and then she says, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that to you. I was the one who said it had to be a secret. I'm sorry. His sister is apologizing to him, and he says, it's alright, I've already. And then his mom, a giant manifestation of his mom, appears from behind him, and she calls out to him, Tenko, do you still want to be a hero? You've rubbed your eyes all ragged. They'll only get itchier if you keep scratching. And then we see a young we see Shigaraki turn towards the giant figure of his mom, and he says, "I'm fine, Mom." He's finally talking to his family, his mom and his sister. He's talking to them as if they're regular people. Then we get his dad, a giant manifestation of his dad coming towards him. And he says, "Tenko, did you sneak into my study?" And he puts a giant hand trying to grab Tenko. But Tenko puts his hand on the giant hand manifestation of his dad and completely disintegrates it. And then he hears his name being called from the darkness. Tamura. Shigaraki calls back to it. He says, "Master, you look like Korigiri." Now, what does this dream mean? I mean, if you really think about it, it can mean a lot of things. Is Shigaraki on the brink of death, finally recollecting with his sins, finally accepting that, he's dead, and he's finally going to go back to his family. He's finally going to be reunited with the family that he once destroyed. He sees his mom, he sees his sister, the only people that cared about him, the people that he loved the most. His sister, even though she kind of screwed him over, she does apologize because she was scared. And Shigaraki accepted it. He accepted the apology, and he was basically fine with it. His mom, still worried about him, and him obviously being her little boy still. Shigaraki seemed like he was at peace here. And then it all gets ruined when his dad comes towards him, reaching out and trying to grab Tenko. And then he remembers that he has to get out of here. He remembers that this is a dream. And he finally faces his dad and destroys him. We have All For One, the only family that cared about him, reaching out and calling for him to join him, to come wake up, as Shigaraki was deep in his slumber. Then, as we come back to the real world, we see the cracked screen that was determining the percentage of Shigaraki's tube. It says 75% completion. Dr. Ujiko drops a huge bombshell. Dr. Ujiko says that All For One had the feeling that he would be defeated, so he passed down everything to his successor. And he says that the quirk All For One had was just a replica of the original All For One, and that the original All For One quirk was passed down to Shigaraki Tamura. So basically, there we have it. Shigaraki is now the possessor of All For One. This chapter has been providing nothing but news drops and bombshells. One of the best chapters of this arc. And if you really think about it, you remember when All Might was fighting All For One? Gran Torino pointed out that All For One had a completely different moveset than what he had before. And it makes sense, because All For One at that time had a duplication of All For One, of his quirk All For One, which will make sense since, all the original powers of All For One. All For One now just has a copy of his original quirk, which would explain why he has a whole different moveset. And knowing Shigaraki has the original All For One along with its quirks, it's kind of scary, because if you are a reader of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, you will know All For One has the quirk Overclock. And if you don't know what Overclock is, I might make a video on it, but basically it's super speed, but more defined. You perceive the world in a slowed down motion, and that's what Shigaraki has, along with his destructive decay quirk that can level a city. This man is looking unbeatable right now. The king has risen. The king of the evil underworld has risen, Shigaraki Tamura. But as Shigaraki is leaving his dream world, he's being held back by his family. The hands of his family that he killed are all matching up with the former hands that he shedded. His mom around his throat, his sister around his wrist, his father on his face trying to push him back, and Nana Shimura on the back of his head. But Shigaraki completely wipes off the hands and gets him off and frees himself. And if you think about this, if you really think about this, most people, when they're dead and they come back to life, they're usually being pushed by the people who want them to not die. They want their person that is currently dead to go back to the living world. But here, the people that Shigaraki loved the most are trying to pull him deeper into the dream world, not allowing him to wake back up. But he completely just blows them away, and he heads into the arms of All For One. And as he heads into the arms of All For One, inconveniently, we see an electrical cord in the pool of water that Shigaraki is in. And then the next panel, we see Shigaraki, the king himself, finally rising, finally rising from his slumber. And the person that was supposed to be checking on him, Express, is not even looking towards him. Then we cut back to the city. The students walk in the streets of Japan. And then Deku, as he's crossing the street, just stops in place. And he says, it's coming. Then we see a close-up of his face. And he says, he's coming. Finally, we have the rise of the king, Tomura Shigaraki, the king of destruction, the next all-for-one user. This is exciting just because the whole dreamscape, first of all, the art in this chapter was a banger, absolute fantastic. We get Shigaraki finally coming to, you know, acceptance with how he is, with the path that he has gone down. We get the confirmation of where the original regeneration quirk is. We get the confirmation that, you know, Dr. Ujiko created the quirk Singularity. We get the confirmation that All For One doesn't have his original quirks. He doesn't have his original quirk. And we also get the confirmation that Shigaraki, yes, he has All For One and he is awake. He is finally arisen, and it is not gonna look good for the heroes. This is the one thing that they had to make sure to do, was to make sure Shigaraki did not wake up. And now he is awake, and now it is looking over. And we also get Deku finally realizing the world of fuck that they are in. So if you guys are excited for My Hero Academia and you can't wait for the next chapter, make sure you guys go ahead and smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, smash it for the king himself as he is awoken. And without further ado, I will see you guys later. Deuces.